I've been a dad for 10 years, but unfortunately, it took 9.5 of those 10 years for my older daughter to finally call me out and say, Dad, I just don't think I'm that important to you. And I realized I was doing a horrible job being present. Now, it's not my fault, right? I grew up thinking, hey, for a dad to be present, it's just physical, and all he has to do is really pay the bills. But presence has so many more facets to be an actual present father than just being there physically. So I, at that moment, was like, you know what? I'm going to make a concerted effort to improve myself as a more present father. So I focused on 4 things. And when I did, I saw my relationship with my kids improve drastically to a point where my older daughter was actually calling me out for doing a better job. For the dads in the room, there's so many dads, so many couples that they want children, but they're kind of casually trying. They get married, they go on a honeymoon, they go to Greece, they go to Santorini, and they have a great honeymoon. They come back and they're pregnant and they have kids, which is amazing. And it wasn't all that stressful, and it just like organically happened. We all know couples that are like that. Now, unfortunately, for myself specifically, it was a little more of a struggle to have kids. And it's not that we didn't want them. It's just we really wanted them. And sometimes, you got to think there's a plan for you. There was a plan for us. But it was a couple of years, process to do so. And throughout the process, you're really going through it. It's like, will I ever have kids? I really want them. And it's just like the negativity, month over month kind of snowballs. It's very frustrating. I'm definitely a control freak. I'm sure there's a lot of guys, when they want something, they're very, they want the control. They want to think that they can just get what they want. And if they want to have kids especially, that they could just snap their fingers and have kids. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. And it took years and I wouldn't say a tumultuous handful of years, but it was definitely arduous to have children. But I was blessed, and not only one, I have 2 daughters. And I know everybody says oh, it's the biggest blessing. In my heart, without a doubt, it was the biggest blessing. Wanted the boys so bad. I got the girls. Daddy's girls. It is the best. So imagine the journey I went through to have kids, wanting them so bad, wondering if I was ever going to have kids. Maybe I was going to adopt or foster kids, whatever it was, I wanted to have kids. But then finally having the blessing of having these kids and being there and thinking I'm doing a great job and thinking I was, present. And then the 2 most important people in my life, my firstborn, my cherub, calls me out and says, Dad, I just don't think I'm that important to you. Imagine that. Imagine the most important person or little people in your life, without a doubt, the most important, my hearts, telling me to my face, crying as they're doing so. My older daughter, she was crying. Dad, I just don't think I'm that important to you. It's devastating. As a man, as a real man, it's devastating. And I did what all the guys do, right? I was defensive instantly, instant defensive, embarrassed. Somehow I was kind of turning on her or, not really dealing with reality. So what did I do? Once I let the dust settle and I was a little bit more introspective on what she said, I realized, although she's 25% of my age, if that, she was right. I had almost you say an aha moment, but it was just I am blessed that she felt safe and comfortable enough after I wasn't doing a good job being present. It's not like it's a guarantee that she felt comfortable to be vulnerable and tell me how she felt. Because I remember when I held her for the first time, the skin to skin, and it was the greatest moment of my life. Holding my kids for the first time were the greatest moments of my life, and I actually have it on picture, which is really cool. Best one of my life. And then you fast forward a decade to have that person that you held at that time. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to love you. You're my world. Girl, dad, all the feelings, all the emotions, to then tell you wow, I'm not that important to you, huh? It was brutal. So it was at that moment, after I got past all the defensive, whatever, I was like, you know what? This is something that I'm going to work on. So to work on anything, I was like, all right, how am I going to do this? So I came up with 4 specific things for me to focus on. The 4 specific things were encouragement, truth, hope, and reassurance. And once I started working on these 4 over time, I saw my relationship with my kids, it got so much better. And again, it's the greatest feeling when finally my older daughter, instead of calling me out, she's saying, Dad, you're really doing a better job being present. So the first thing I focus on was encouragement. Now, unfortunately, in a man's life, sometimes he goes into what I call the pit, or what many people call the pit, where it's just all the negative headspace stuff, the ruminations, all the crazy cognitive thought processes. I'm a psych guy, but still, I keep it simple. I failed my kids. Oh my God, I wasted all this time. They're gonna grow up and be, X, Y, and Z bad. I ruined their life. What have I done? I'm such a failure. All these things were in my head when I finally realized my oldest daughter was right. And I was dropping the ball. So after I was done being defensive and just being, a a bro. And I was like, you know what? Little Daniela was right. I was like, all right, this sucks. I'm in the pit. I failed. I let her down. I'm not showing her how important she is to me. What a horrible job I'm doing. And I realized the first thing for me to focus on was that headspace stuff, right? So I leaned into something that I'm going to call encouragement. So everyone has ideally either, some form of an ecosystem or a circle or friends and family and coworkers and business partners, whatever it is. Luckily for me, I have a great family that I can lean into. Originally, it would have been Poppy and Nanny, my dad's parents. I would have called them and I could hear Nanny's voice, like, all the encouragement, which is what I would have needed at that very moment. So I just reached out to my mom. We have a great relationship. And we had a really candid conversation. She said, they call me Drew back in the day before I did this whole mortgage thing. Went, Drew, you're an amazing dad. Your girls love you. Look at all your pictures, right? It's all you got to do. Pull up your phone, look at all your pictures of the three of you together. You can see it in their faces because kids' faces don't lie. You can see the sadness. You can see whatever. Look at and I did, over the years, all the jet games we went to, all the escape rooms, all the vacations, the little things, all like the, cute moments of our bedtime routine where my youngest daughter does like the Ronaldo zoo and she jumps in the bed and I video it. And I was like, Mom, you're right. I felt tons of encouragement. I knew that I had what it took to kind of fix how bad I was dadding at that point. It was almost like she came in my house, slapped me around. It was like, get off the couch, shave, take a shower, stop eating bad, go to the gym, like, let's get it. And it really kickstarted me to really make a more concerted effort to work on the present side. So whether it's your wife, whether it's a girlfriend or a fiance if you're not married, whether it's your family like I have the blessing of, if you don't have any of this stuff, whether it's a friend, a coworker, whatever it is, if you feel like I felt that you're so discouraged, you're dropping the ball, you're not as present as you want to be, all you need is a little encouragement. Maybe it's me just telling you, just a little encouragement. I promise you, if you lean into this stuff, it'll improve. But there's so many guys that are always in the pit. Unfortunately, it takes a lot to kind of get out of it. But I found encouragement was the real catalyst for me to kickstart change. Now, once I got off the couch, got the encouragement, kind of had that catalyst moment where I'm like, all right, I got this. The second thing that I worked on, I'm going to call it truth. Before we get into truth, make sure, guys, go in the description, click the link. So for myself, I was like, you know what? In general, presence is just one of the pillars of being a great dad. There's actually 5 pillars, believe it or not. Presence, patience, strength, legacy, and leadership. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to come up with some questions for each of the 5 and see where I'm struggling. So I was struggling in presence, as we were discussing, and I was struggling in strength. I weighed a little bit too much, too many Bubba Burgers at the Jet game, and it was just something I had to work on. I wasn't in the best shape. So by taking this assessment on the 5 pillars, I realized those are the 2 things that I had to focus on. So now, I created an actual assessment. I call it the anchor assessment. So all you have to do is take it. It'll show you of the 5 where you're doing very well. It'll show you of the 5 where you need to improve, just like I had to improve on those 2. And once you fill it out, you get a free workbook that's going to give you strategies to work on the specific weaknesses that you have. So again, hop in the description, click the link, take the anchor assessment that I created for you guys, that I created for myself first, see where you're killing it, as a dad, which you want to continue. But of course, see what are some of the things you have to improve upon. We all need some kind of improvement in one of the 5 or 2 of the 5 pillars. And once you fill it out, you get the workbook and start working on it now. And you'll see, just like I did, changes very fast and your kids will appreciate it. So the second thing is truth. So I had to be radically, aggressively honest with myself. Why was I being so bad at presence? Why was I sucking? Why was 10 years ago, the best moment of my life, holding my daughter, all those crazy emotions? I got this. I'm going to take care of my whole life. Fast forward a decade, and now I'm just horrible at it. Where was I going wrong? So I realized the brutal truth about presence, which is it's not just physical. Guys just don't pay the bills and show up, and they're kind of like there, and that's it. I was struggling with my addiction to technology. So when I was with them, I was there physically, but I wasn't there mentally. And I know all dads, I'm sure you guys watching, you have the greatest kids too. My kids are the greatest kids too. And they are the best kids in the world. But was I really there with them? And they felt it, right? Every time they say, hey, Dad, and I'm on my phone. I mean, it's like the most brutal thing in the world. Hey, Dad. And I'm just like, huh? What? Not paying attention? Like, when that happens over and over again, I had the benefit of speaking to so many specialists in the fatherhood space. And they all say the same thing. The meta messages I was giving my kids by not paying attention, being on my technology, is just that they're not that important to me. That's exactly why my older daughter said that to me. Dad, I just don't feel like I'm that important to you. It's like she talked to all the geniuses in the fatherhood space, and she was right. So for me, it was the truth of what is presence? What is it on top of what I thought it was? So it's like redefining what presence was. And with that, I can kind of build off that as a foundation. So I realized, did all, some research. When I'm obsessed with something, as I am with my kids, and I think I'm doing something wrong, I'm going to obsess over doing something right, or course correcting. So I realized that the physical, that kind of just like gets your foot in the door, right? Unless you're there, like nothing will happen. But like you don't get an award and a high five and gold stars just for being there physically. So what are the things I had to improve? Number one, I had to put my technology away. That was a huge limiting factor. I call technology the death of presence. Number two, I have to be in it with them. Like whatever they're doing, I have to be kind of sort of doing with them. And number three, I'm a guy. I fix problems, wasn't the best communicator. So I had to put all that stuff, check it at the door and start letting my kids feel like they can communicate, tell me how they felt, and then I'll just listen and ask open-ended questions. So for me, being honest with myself, being truthful, that presence was more than just physical, that I had to work on putting my technology away. Simple, guys. Put your phones on silent and put them away. Just put them away. And it's so hard for me. Once I started doing it, over time, it got so much easier, and it's been amazing for my relationship with my kids. So the first thing is get the tech away. The second thing is whatever they're doing, I take a hyper interest. I'm very interested in the things they're doing. Not going to tell you I wake up on a Saturday morning when they're not with me because I share custody and I go on Roblox because I played video games in my life. I don't like Roblox. But I do when they're there. There's all these games that they play and it's cool and they love when I play with them. It's about that. It's about them feeling appreciated, loved, that I meet them where they are. But that's something that I focus on as well from the presence perspective, which is like doing the thing, meeting them where they're at, which is cool. And of course, the third thing, I'm a typical guy. I'm a fixer. So, and whenever something happens with them, I'm just like, all right, like, let's just fix it. But they just want to be heard. They want to tell me about their day at school. They want to tell me about their fears. As like my 9-year-old's 10-year-old's brain is, maturing. So many questions are popping out. I'm sure you guys, if you have kids, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, the questions they ask as they're learning and maturing are wild. But I realize just let them talk. When they stop, ask open-ended questions. If something is going wrong or if there's some kind of pain or concern, don't fix it. Let them kind of work through it together. But once I started really focusing on those items and I realized what presence really was and I was truthful with myself, man, the results were amazing. The third specific thing that I was going to focus on to improve being a more present dad was, let's call it hope. So hope to me was, all right, so I have the motivation, I have the discipline, but I have to have it every single day. Because by doing so, I have the hope that I'm going to see improvements over the long haul. Now, just like in like a weight loss journey, technically there's really nothing you can do kind of sort of today to just like lose weight, get a six-pack, be shredded, be healthy, all that, can lose all your visceral fat. It just takes little wins, right? Every single day, right? Little wins. If you win the battle every day, eventually you win the war. It's the same thing happens for being a better dad, especially from a presence perspective. So I wasn't something where like literally tomorrow I could just put my phone away and everything was good. Because unfortunately, it's almost like I feel like I take 2 steps back before I take some steps forward. So I could tell you the first time I put my phone away, my older daughter was like, "Where's your phone, Dad?" Kind of like calling me out, which was almost like a test. Very smart, sweet, empathetic, but definitely called me out on it. So it was almost like I felt like I was taking a step back. I'm like, girl, you don't see I'm like putting my phone away? Like I could be getting sales calls for mortgage and you're calling me out on this, really? But I felt like I needed to focus on the hope. The hope was that if I was motivated enough, which I am, and I was, and if I have the discipline that every day, no matter what happens, even if I fail that day, even if I make a mistake, that I'm going to work on it every single day, with the hope that eventually over time that it's going to be the end result that I want, which is a better relationship with my kids, for them to feel like we're spending more quality time, for them developmentally to improve, all the good stuff. So I hyper-focused and fixated on how am I going to win the day. So I really created all these little things that I could do every day, because sometimes as a dad, for me to work on myself as a present father, it can become very overwhelming, right? When something is so important to you and you feel like you're not doing well, you want to do it all at once. But instead of doing it all at once, I had the discipline, the motivation to work on a little bit every single day. It's like almost like going to the gym. You can't just starve yourself one day and then lose all the weight. So it's like if I focus on not eating bad, not drinking as much wine at night, and focusing on eating all the protein, doing the steps, and going to the gym a few times, if I do that over 3 months, I'll see improvements. So that's what I did. I gave myself 3 months. I gave myself 12 weeks. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to focus a little bit every single day on being a more present dad, even if they're not with me, and they're with me about half the time. And whether it's going to be virtual, it's going to be in person, just little things. And in the morning, when I wake up, I'm going to be like, all right, today is how I'm going to show up better as a present dad. Now, of course, I didn't know the end results, what was going to happen. I needed the hope. And I just knew that if I put in the work every day, like I've done in anything else in life, I had the hope that eventually, over a several-week time or a several-week process, that I have a better relationship with my kids. And it did. It worked. It was actually amazing. But it did take time. And like I said, unfortunately, why I needed hope and why I needed the discipline is because the first several days, just like me getting back in the gym, it's like me after I've had time off from the gym. When I first start going back for the first week, I actually feel really crappy. I hop on the treadmill. I feel like I'm so out of shape. It's so deflating. So when I first started leaning into my kids and trying to be more present, I felt like I almost had worse results. I was being almost like called out and mocked by my own kids. Like, oh, Dad, now all of a sudden you want to be present, which is fine because I knew, like I said, guys, in the back of my mind that if I did it every single day, eventually over time that it would improve, and I had the hope. And the fourth specific thing that I focused on, and I have found it to be the most important because I think a guy's headspace, we have so much negative headspeak, so much emotions, so much concern about what we're doing and the effect that'll have on our kids. The fourth, reassurance. Now, I make a joke in the family, like, hey, reassurance pudding. Like, everyone loves a little bit of the reassurance pudding. The reassurance that I needed had to come from within. So I decided, I made the executive decision for Andrew Russell's life that I am going to improve the story I tell myself every day, guys. And if anything in this video or this audio resonates with you, I hope it's this, that the story you tell yourself every day, you can control that. And that has a huge impact on how your day plays out, on how you are as a dad, and the things you can improve. Ironically, the day after I got called out by my daughter, I was being defensive, and then finally, we had a great conversation. I went to bed at night, kind of in the pit a little bit. I woke up the next morning, and I was like, all right, I suck. That sucks. I really suck. I was driving them to school, about a 30-minute ride. But of course, on the way there, all of a sudden, the song comes on, right? I think it's by Sia. And I was listening to the words, and I was like, although my kids love that type of music, I was like, oh my God, this must be, I'm becoming more spiritual as I get older. This must be a sign. It must mean something. And I realized, for the reassurance side, whether you're a fan of the song or not, it's I'm unstoppable. I'm a Porsche with no brakes. I'm invincible. I win every single game. I'm so powerful. I don't need batteries to play. I'm so confident. I'm unstoppable today. And that really resonated in the moment. That's something that I'm trying to live by a little bit each day. So I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to drop the ball. I'm going to be on my technology with my kids by accident, or I had a bad day and I'm too hyper-focused on that. I'm not like in it with them, as I said, which is super important. But the story that I tell myself every day, the reassurance that I need that I'm going to do a better job being more present, this is something I work on every single morning. And it's just the repetitive kind of headspeak of I'm a great dad. I'm a great dad because I know that I make mistakes, but I work on it every single day. I'm a great dad because I love my kids and they come first. And no matter what happens, they're going to have the best life with me, and I'm going to do a great job. And we're going to have successes, and whatever we struggle with, we'll work on as a family, and that just builds, more character, and it's better for them developmentally. So instead of being so hard on myself, so negative, so concerned, I just made the executive decision that every single day, whether you believe in affirmations or not, that I'm going to have personal reassurance that I give myself every day that Andrew Russell, if you work on this every day, your relationship with your kids, it's going to improve. Whether I'm a Porsche or an Escalade or a Kia, whatever it is, as long as I lean into being a more present father, admitting where I was dropping the ball, working on the things that I had to improve, no matter what, over time, like I said, over the 12 weeks that I gave myself, you will have amazing results. So I was almost telling myself that if you do all the stuff that you believe in, and you really lean into it and lean into your kids and do a better job, and don't BS yourself, actually do the things that you know will work, that after several weeks, there will be a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Your relationship with them will improve. All right, guys, so we talked about the 4 specific things that I kind of focused on to get off the couch and start doing a better job being a present dad. But the presence piece of being a father is so important. So make sure, guys, you watch our next video or listen to our next episode. We're going to go into presence. There's so much that goes into it. It's being attentive, it's being intentional, it's being emotionally available. We're going to do a deep dive into what presence actually is and how to be great at it. So make sure you watch our next video.